All right. Good night, everyone. We're very happy and grateful that we have made it to this 5th session training of the Cnfo's Leadership Institute. We have started in April of 2020, smack in COVID. We started this Leadership Institute, and we have repeated it each year. And so if we did 2020, 21, 22, 23, this will be our 5th year. So it's a little, milestone and celebration. So thank you for being a part of this. We are grateful that we can be here, but many of us are also sorrowful because we lost one of our members recently, Mr. Jocelyn Likwai. And so the facilitator and myself will just use a few minutes of this training tonight to honor and remember Mr. Jocelyn Likwai. So first of all, I welcome you, and this is the very first time I'm going to say a prayer on the Leadership Institute. So I will take the liberty of leading us in a prayer. So before we begin, and I pass over to Mr. Adrian LaRoda, let us take a moment to reflect and center ourselves through a prayer to comfort us through this time. Dear Lord, we are all gathered here on this online training tonight as we are mournful, some of us, for the loss of the Cnfo member from Trinidad and Tobago. His name was Mr. Likwai, Jocelyn Likwai. We find solace in the memories we shared with him. May we honor our friend Jocelyn's legacy by cherishing the good moments we had at Cnfo meetings and Cnfo gatherings and carrying forward the kindness he embodied. May we remember Jocelyn for all the hard work he did for the fishing industry. God, please comfort us. Please comfort his friends. Please comfort his family at this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. At this time, I will now hand over the microphone to Mr. Adrian LaRoda.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to another iteration of the Cnfo's Learning Institute. This is our 5th year, and we're growing and getting stronger and stronger every year. And I must say, I want to thank all those presenters who came before and everyone who volunteered to present, because it is a good experience and rewarding for all of us as fisher folk. Without going on, though, I have to, in memory of one of our founding fathers, Ms. Jocelyn Likwai. I share a lot of fond memories with Jocelyn. I met him first time in Jamaica. I think that may have been, anyway, early. And I was sitting opposite him when he made a presentation. And I was smiling because a lot of things that he says really resonated with me. And it was so interesting that some of the similarities that we had. And after that meeting, I went over because I had to talk to this white-haired gentleman, right? I went over and we had a good chat. And ever since then, that first meeting, we shared a good relationship. And for the number of times I was in Trinidad, the last couple of times we were there, we weren't able to connect for whatever reason, but I remember going out to his village and sharing that learning experience through Canary. We went out to his village, and Jocelyn gave me something called Manish water. Now, in the Bahamas, we really don't know what managed water is. Well, not the way it is in the other parts of the Caribbean. But he gave me this drink called managed water, and so we shared that kind of thing, and I don't want to go into the details as to what happened afterwards, but we shared that. Then went back to Jamaica. Other moments again, he was just an all around knowledgeable, good gentleman. It definitely made my experiences rewarding and a whole lot better because I knew him and what he was able to impart with us, with me particularly, through his time, uh, uh, his time in being at the lead and in the forefront of Cnfo. He'll be sorely missed. And we're looking forward. I personally will look forward to the times when other senior members of the fishing community in our Caribbean, when we're able to, when they're able to come and be part of these kinds of forums where they can share the knowledge, because we are Caribbean people, one Caribbean, one people. After the presentation tonight, with Nadine's lead, we will then take some time to share, for others to share their moments, their recollections as a tribute to Jocelyn. Okay, so we like to hold, if you can hold that, because what we want to do is go through the presentation, and then if you want to hold it, please, just we'd like you to make your tributes on the record after we've done the presentation. So with that being said, Nadine, can we move into the presentation now? I want to thank everyone who's joining by Facebook, and of course to all of us here who are sitting here in this meeting in our Zoom meeting. As Nadine said, this is our 5th iteration of the Learning Institute, and we are actually greatly delighted that for those of you who want to join. I will now begin to share my screen so that we can join in for this presentation on leadership. It is the first module for the 2024 sessions, and I'm happy to be the presenter tonight. My name is Adrian LaRoda. I am the president of the Bahamas Commercial Fishers Alliance, which is the national fisherfolk organization in the Bahamas. We currently have now growing over close to 400 members and 3 PFOs, which are primary fisherfolk organizations. I am based in Nassau, and I wish I should have put up actually a map of the Bahamas, but I am based in Nassau, and we run our operations primarily in the major islands of the Bahamas. As you know, the Bahamas is a country as an archipelago stretching from 50 miles off the coast, off the northern coast, off the coast of mid-Florida, down to the fantastic island of Hispaniola, bordering with the Turks and Caicos. So we have about 800 miles of land. And of that 800 miles, all of our islands have coast and banks, which we are situated basically from southeast to southeast to northwest. I'm going to move right in then to the presentation tonight on leadership. Let's see how I can share my screen. There we go, share screen. Sorry, I'm trying to do this. I'm not accustomed to using this laptop, and as Murphy would show up. Here we are. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. Thank you again. The Leadership Institute of the Cnfo. As you know, the Cnfo is the regional fisherfolk organization representing all, well, the majority of the countries in CARICOM, which is the Caribbean community. And we actually comprise the 17 countries of CARICOM and moving towards having others join us. And others, when I mean others, we basically non-CARICOM represent countries, but because they're part of the Caribbean basin, we will have them join us. Those are the territories of the British Virgin Islands and Haiti. There are other islands within the Antilles and the Caribbean, other countries, sorry, not islands, other countries within the Caribbean basin that are not a part of the Cnfo because they happen to not be part of CARICOM, but they're still hopefully working forward to, working and looking forward to having them be part of the Cnfo also. I'm the outgoing chairman of the Cnfo, having served 7.5 years. And the current chair, Gavin Stevens from St. Lucia, he's currently in the chair serving this term. So moving right into the Leadership Institute and exploring leadership in fisherfolk organizations. What is leadership? That's the question. And why is leadership important? Who lead fisherfolk organizations? And how is leadership carried out? I don't want to bore you with a whole lot of talk. I would like for this session to be as interactive as possible. So I'm going to just ask this first question. What is leadership? Anybody will take the first comment. You can just say, blurt out, say what you think leadership is. Okay, nobody wants to answer, so I don't want to do this, but I may have to start calling on some people.
I can go, that's okay.
Go ahead, please.
I would say leadership is, in my opinion, the ability to influence others, to guide them to make informed decisions.
Yes, that's part of it. Yes, that's part of it. Leadership encompasses a few more aspects of it, but we're not going to, some details of it may vary. But yes, leadership is actually causing a group of people to understand their role in reaching a common goal. It can be 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, 1,000 people. But that's what leadership is. And on the next question, why? What is the why? Okay, I just saw a question pop up. A survey pop up, actually. So I'm trying to get on this. Yeah, leadership, why is leadership important? Leadership is important because oftentimes there are many people who share similar ideas, but cannot amalgamate those ideas into a common purpose. I'm going to go to the chat. I see someone is in the chat. So I'm going to multitask here and just see what the comment is in the chat. Okay, we'll send email. Yes. So basically that's what, that is why a leadership is important, because some person have to step up and get into the role of actually amalgamating the ideas, bringing the whole to one common goal. A leader can be the person standing in front. A leader can be someone with the best idea. A leader can be the person who owns the boat. A leader can be anyone. But it's important to understand a leader must be a person. Okay? Then, who leads fisherfolk organizations? Let me hear from someone, one person. Who leads a fisherfolk organization? Okay. Sometimes this is a tricky question. Let me tell you why it's a tricky question that actually does not need a tricky answer. It's a tricky question because there are a lot of folks who are not involved in the day-to-day mechanisms and operation of fishing organizations, but they are still leaders. Why are they leaders? They are leaders because we can go back to the second question. They're able to galvanize and amalgamate all of the ideas of fisherfolk. Most common leaders in fisherfolk organizations are people who are directly involved in the fishing operation, organization, cooperative, whatever. Which is fantastic. It's good. But oftentimes you find that there is benefit in diversity, and that diversity is having those folks who see things not from the view of fisherfolk, but from the view of an organization. Okay. Now we're going to go down to how is leadership carried out. There are many ways that leadership could be carried out, and we all know there are some leaders are dictatorial, some leaders are democratic, some leaders are adversarial. People have a leadership style that sometimes benefit an organization, sometimes may not benefit an organization. So in fisherfolk organizations particularly, there is often a view that unless a person, we often use this term bona fide fisherman, right? That unless a person is a bona fide fisherman, meaning somebody who is in the boat every day, going out to sea, doing what they do, unless it's someone like that, they cannot be a leader, or they have no benefit, to the organization. Well, when we look at that, oftentimes, how is that leadership carried out? Because it's not often that the person with the most hands-on is the best leader. Everyone have a particular personality where their personality may fit their personal, the intrinsic role, but it may not fit the role of the organization. They will have an idea how they would like to lead, but does that leadership benefit the organization? Is it autocratic? Is it democratic? Is it inclusive? That draws out how a leader should function in a particular group. Not all organizations would benefit from a democratic leader. Organizations may not benefit from an autocratic leader. Organizations may not benefit from an introvert. An organization may not benefit from an extrovert. But how that leadership role is carried out is very important. And it's not tailor-made. It's not a one-size-fit-all mode, type of leadership, because every organization is different. People are different. I will use the Bahamas, for example. You may have one particular island where there are three distinct and different lifestyles. People in the north may do things one way. People in the central part may do things another way. People in the south may do things another way. We have islands where people are on the same island, but in one sector, you have people of lighter skin who do not particularly mix with people in another section where there are people of darker skin. While they do coexist, they do understand the invisible boundaries. In those type of situations, how do you lead? It's very difficult. But again, it brings you back in whether you're a democratic leader, an autocratic leader, an introvert, or an extrovert. Someone in the chat just said, Sheena Griffith, when to the question of who should lead fisherfolk organizations, our point is fisherfolk should lead fisherfolk organizations. Fisherfolk will look out for their interests. There's nothing wrong with non-fisherfolk to be on the board, but not as the president. That is a good point. A very good point. Because non-fisherfolk would not understand completely what fisherfolk experience and feel. That is a very good point. But is that enough, though? Is that enough? Do fisherfolk need to broaden their scope of involvement outside of simply being harvesters and sellers, but also to administrators? Because oftentimes we see a lot of organizations that are formed and are vibrant, but over time, they tend to taper off and become non-essential because people get comfortable in their positions and they do not derive personal benefits from organizations. So that is important to how leadership is carried. Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide. Sorry, you have to forgive me. I'm still a bit handicapped with dealing with multiple screens, and I'm not using this in the computer. Okay, here, this is very interesting. What are we talking about in terms of leadership? Let's look it up. Lead. Be in charge. To lead means be in charge or command of an organized, direct, set a process in motion, take someone or something all the way to a destination. The leader, the person who leads or commands a group, organization, or a country. Leadership, action of leading a group of people or an organization, or the ability to do this. Those are the points that define all three of the previous categories into these points here. I want to take you to the byline because it's very important. Okay, when we look at leadership, John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I'm sure a lot of folks know who John Maxwell is. He's a very famous, very famous author and motivational speaker. And you know, he's the author of a number of books on leadership and basically things in general. I must say that I really only have a couple of his books, but yes. Take it to the next slide. My screen may be a little skewed here, but please forgive me. I don't know how to. I don't know how to get rid of a lot of this stuff here. Sorry, I'm using someone else's computer, so I just. Yeah, great. Okay. Key aspects of the what of leadership in FFOs. One, influencing people, meaning fishers, whereas you inspire and motivate and get them to participate. Two, participation, which is activity and collaboration. Three, understanding the goals, vision, and mission. Those are the key aspects of leadership in FFOs, fisher folk organizations. Does anybody have any comment on any of this so far?
Chat for Miss Sylvia, please.
Sylvia White, again from Barbados, is saying that yes, fisher folk should broaden their horizon and be involved in the leadership and running of the organizations. They should always have a voice and a seat at the decision table. I agree with you. I agree with you. The handicap to that is it's not often that everyone can sit at the table. And, we often say, and sometimes we should accept too that in leadership, the loudest voice is not often the most influential voice. The loudest voice is not often the most influential voice. So people who always demand to sit at the table, you must be mindful of why you're sitting there and what benefit you intend to derive from being there. What is your contribution while there? And what do you intend to achieve and walk away from because you are there? Too often, people.
Brother Chair, I put up my hand, but nice session so far. I just only have one comment on the waving question was the absent.
Okay, go ahead.
But before Winsberg goes, I think there are a couple of people who have been waiting, and we should really respect those as well. So Winsberg will get his turn for sure. But
I will give way. I will give way.
Yeah, Wendell Morris had his hand up for quite a bit.
Yes.
And there's some stuff in the chat as well. So perhaps we should, and then have Winsberg as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just to okay. So yes, just to finish that point about being at the table. So yes. So on this, we'll go to Wendell then because I'm just saying his hand. Rodney Wendell.
Yes, sir. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. You asked some really good questions with respect to who are leaders and who are persons who should lead fisher folk. There's also a question relating to should fisher folk broaden their perspectives? Definitely yes. But with respect to the first two questions, I listened to a lot that you said, and I tried to, incorporate a definition, and I would read it. Leaders are individuals who are able to efficiently utilize various concepts and styles to influence and provide guidance to others to work together in achieving similar goals and objectives, and at the same time, bring out the best in these persons, realize or channel their untapped potential, creating better versions of themselves, and also improving the overall operational efficiency of an institution, of the Fisherfolk institution, as well as broaden the scope of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendell. I hope you don't mind me calling you by your first name. Thank you very much. I can't see everyone who may have a hand raised, but Let me see. Okay, Winsworth, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Okay, then I just very good two questions you put on the table there, brother Che. What I'm saying as well too is that within a good leader must have also the commitment and the love of the organization, and that could because if we don't have the commitment and the love of the organization as we get in, because one of the times we encourage fisher folks to be a part of it, and they don't have the commitment, because within being a leader, some leaders only want to lead when things is good. So that's why I say the commitment, and secondly, to identify the needs of the membership, because if you really want to lead, you have to look at the persons and them around you, if they're willing to support your leadership, or if they're going to undermine your leadership as well too. So these are the things I would say in the question he asked, and respect the values. The leaders need to respect the values of the members around him. So that is just I want to add to the question he really asked, looking at leadership styles. Back to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So, Adrian, I saw Winston Hobson have his mic unmuted. I'm not sure if he wanted to make a contribution or not. So perhaps we should ask him.
Yes, please. Yeah, Winston, please go ahead. Yeah, thank you, Mitch, because I'm not able to see everyone with their hands raised. So thank you for that.
I didn't even have an necessary moment, and I didn't even have my mic on mute.
Okay, cool. But I saw it's unmuted, so you can probably mute it, Winston.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So go ahead, Adrian.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. All right. Yeah. So thanks for the comments, folks. So going back to the slides then.
Chair of the meeting, Ms. Sheena Griffith, comment in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Ms. Sheena Griffith. She said no. That wasn't her. Somebody else. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Someone commented in the chat. Esther. I couldn't see the full name. Not everyone at the table. No, well, I guess they're meaning that not everyone should be at the table, but a collective voice at the table. Agreed. And Sheena Griffith said from Barbados is saying that too many times organizations fail because of dictatorship. That I agree with too. Yes, that happens. But there are occasions when basically people may confuse strong leadership with dictatorship, and we see that a lot. Because when you have folks who want to be involved, but they're not, prepared to go the extra mile or go out on the limb, that's when you need a strong leader to be able to say, we're going to take step A and step B. So while dictatorship may sometimes seem to be a bad word and sends a bad connotation, there's also a side to that, for strong leadership. I don't want to call it authoritarian, but it's just strong leadership. Because let's face it, a lot of people cannot make or do not want to make decisions. Why? Because they do not want to be put on the line. They don't want to be put on the hook, and they're afraid of failure. It's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to be wrong a lot. But you have to learn from being wrong. If you keep being wrong over and over on the same issue, then that's a failure of leadership. But nobody ever got to success without making a mistake. Nobody ever made it to the top without falling down. Sheena Griffith is saying again, as a leader, you are to conduct yourself in a way that will garner the support of the people of the organization. Absolutely true. Absolutely correct. But you must also accept, not everyone will buy into, I'm not going to say the leadership, but the personality of everyone. Two hands. Each finger is different. Both hands together. No two of these fingers have the same fingerprint. They're all different. But when we come together, we form that unit. We form that unit. When we pray and we match up. When we pray, come together. So sometimes people just need to buy into the organization. And if a leader intends to be liked by everyone, that doesn't make you a good leader. You're actually not benefiting the organization and you're not leading, because in every organization, you need someone to be a prickle, someone to keep the organization afloat, someone to be able to hold the rudder, someone. Not go against the grain, because I don't particularly like when we say go against the grain, but that's how leadership is. Why is leadership important to small-scale fisher folk? Small-scale fishers are important and need to be secure. Societal importance, which is the way of life, food providers, and for our livelihoods. Our skills and knowledge and experiences can promote sustainable fisheries. Fishers face threats to their livelihoods from competing interests such as tourism, conservation, oil and gas, and blue economy initiatives. This is very important for fisherfolk, and we need and must understand it. Slowly, we have organizations who are creeping in to our atmosphere, creeping in to our environment, creeping in to our organizations with the mask of a benefit of helping us. But really, all they're doing is diluting our influence. When I say diluting our influence, it all sounds good, seems good, rosy as pie, when folks come to you, oh, you're doing a fantastic job. We like what you're doing. We have a project we would like to involve you in. What is the project? They are promoting a greener lifestyle for the marine environment. Because now, apparently, it's not sexy to mention the blue economy anymore. It's now changed to the turquoise. And here in my country, the Bahamas, it's now the green economy. It's the green economy for the environment. Okay? When you look at the details, where the devil is normally hidden, is just another conservation initiative to tie you in. And once you're tied in, they can then say, look, here's the face. We have this person, this organization on board involved. Sometimes affecting the trust that fishers would have in your organization. Because yesterday we were diametrically opposed to this. Now today we are holding hands. So it's important for leaders leaders of fisherfolk organizations to understand the balance, to understand that not every dollar is a good dollar. Sometimes you just have to say no. But how do you reach that balance? It's a very, very tight rope. Your organization may say, yes, we want it, but your personal conviction may say otherwise. as a leader, what do you do when your personal conviction conflicts with your organization's instruction or desire? It may not be, and oftentimes it's not in the mission of the organization, but it's the opportunity for the organization. So how do you balance that? It's a very tight rope. I don't have an answer, but you may have an answer. So I'd like to hear your perspective on how would you balance that. Very short. There's no two answers will be alike. No two situations will be alike. Why is leadership important to small-scale fisherfolk in this instance, where you have an initiative that the collective is agreeing with, but your personal conviction say otherwise? Quick answers. Quick answers. Anyone? Quick answers.
So I'll jump in here, Adrian, because this is critically important.
Right.
If you lead an organization, your job is to do what the organization wants. If you differ on an issue, you bow out of the leadership position on that issue and let the organization pick a different leader to lead on that issue, because that is the organization's focus. So if the leader does not want to lead the organization where the organization wants to go, the leader should decline the position. Very simple.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Mitch. Anybody else?
Hello?
Go ahead, Vincent. You're up.
Well, I see that if the group want to do something, and in my personal opinion, I don't feel it's something that the group should do. Well, I put it to the vote and majority rules. That's how I see it. And well, I'll still lead. I do what they say they want. And hopefully it don't work the way I feel it gonna work. I hope that it work in the positive way.
Okay, you heard that. Nadine Earl has a comment in the chat that says one of the main aspects of an effective leadership is communication between its members and external stakeholders when it comes down to decision making. Yeah, I think we all agree on that. Okay, we'll move along then. Good points, good points, two good points. Two good points. Okay, fisherfolk are impacted by many other players and leadership secures their interests. Now, the previous slide kind of segues into this slide, right? Previous slide. I'll tell you why it segues into this one. Because the question in the previous slide was, or not the question, but I brought up in the previous slide, if the organization have a position and the leader has a personal conviction that may conflict with, but no, I didn't say conflict, oppose with that position. That segues into this. Value chain players from differing perspectives can negatively impact fishers. Economics, price and equity, environmental and conservation, management and international agreements, climate change and scientific research. Of course, we see the value chain diagraphic there. But let's look at this for a few short minutes. Value chain players from differing perspectives can negatively impact fishers. Most times, fishers simply want to be able to sell their product. I just want to sell this. I've been out fishing all day, back. I am doing this for me to eat. This is my business. I'm selling this fish. So they want to sell their product. What they're selling their product for may be undervalued. They may not be getting the best quality. They may not be getting the best dollar for their product. But it doesn't matter because they want to sell their product. The leader may say, man, don't do that. Hold off. May say, man, we ain't listening to you. We want to get rid of our product. We want to sell our product. They go ahead, they sell their product. That's the agreement. They find out that John Blow down the road is getting more for his product than they got for theirs. They come back to the leader and say, man, why didn't you tell us? The leader says, well, I tried to, but you didn't give me a chance. I explained to you why you should hold off, why it should be collected. This is where economics comes in, prices and equity. Are fishers consistently getting value for their product? I'm going to say across the board, no. Why? Because we operate in the mindset that I want to just sell my fish. I want to just sell my fish. The buyer know that that is your mindset. They know that is your position, so they capitalize on that. So as fishers, and I'm going to say something that happens in my country because your situation may be similar, but in my country, I say this. We have a thriving live conch industry. So I say to our fishers, instead of there are 10 boats going out at the same time, and each of you are bringing back 10,000 pounds, 10,000 conchs coming back at the same time. Why don't you stagger it? Because when you get back, yes, everyone is racing to get back to market. The buyers know that. And they know that you just want to sell your fish. So you basically have to accept what they offer you. But if we have 10 boats and we stagger the harvest, when 2 boats, 5 boats, whatever, go out, they bring the 10,000 conchs, 2 or 5 more boats go out to harvest. And so there's, in essence, a rotation system, or not a call-up, but a rotation system. That way, we can consistently supply the market and get top dollar for our product. Instead of having to compete with 10, we're now only competing with 5, with 2 or 5. That come to fruition? No. Nope. Because everybody wants to be the first man out, first man back to sell their product. Okay, that's where economics comes in, with price and equity, because that is not an equitable distribution of the wealth the fishers could get. They can get 50 cents or $1 extra for their product versus getting 75 cents less when there are 10 boats coming back. Everybody have the same thing. Everybody have the same number. Then we have the environmental conservation. How does that play out? Regardless of what it is, every fisher thinks of an environmental impact and have I know, particularly Uncle Mitch, he doesn't like to use the word conservation. So in this instance, I'm going to say a sustainability, a sustainability mindset, right? But then there are some fishers who don't. There are some fishers who will want to catch every fish in the sea. and it goes to waste. So I'm not going to dwell on that point too much because I understand what it is. Then we talk about management and international agreements. It's very important, and it was brought up earlier in another slide in the chat about fishers being aware of international agreements and all that. Yes, and too often our governments do not adequately consult fishers when it comes to agreeing to or acquiescing or signing on to international agreements. Fortunately for us in the Caribbean, we are able to selectively or basically pick those parts of these agreements that we will assent to and not agree with. But this too goes back to leadership, because fishers need to understand, not all of us can understand or have the ability to understand everything. So we need to, and it's important that we rely on or tap into the resources of people who can honestly understand, translate, and articulate these agreements to us. Remember I said earlier, the devil is normally in the details? Yes. So we need to rely on those resources, okay? And that normally comes too from us being accommodating, because oftentimes we look at people and says, and we automatically have a dislike for them because we have historical and anecdotal knowledge, right? But there are folks who can benefit us who basically operate in a fact-based environment, right? So we need to oftentimes tap into that and marry the two. Don't be afraid to talk to someone who may sound a little smart. You know, let's get out of the mindset that you think he's better than us, or you know, they think they're smart or whatever it is. Okay, let's find a way to reach a happy medium. That's the only way we would benefit or have input or be able to properly contribute to agreements that our governments decide that they're going to get into, because they are, and I'll tell you, even in my country too, they're reluctant to come and consult because of the response they will get. Because we, as fishers and fisher folk, we are quick to dismiss any form of information that is non-traditional. Okay? Climate change and scientific research. Well, we don't want to get too much into the scientific research, but we have to acknowledge the effects of climate change. As fishers, we say to scientists, oh, man, you're talking nonsense. You're talking nonsense. My granddaddy, recount when he was a boy, the same thing happened. So we're going through a cycle. Oh man, don't worry about it. They're not often wrong, but sometimes marry that historical knowledge and that anecdotal information with scientific research. In the Bahamas right now, our organization, we have partnered with a research institute out of California, where they are tracking water temperature, particularly during this hurricane season. They have given us some monitors that we would drop into the water and let it go down to 300, 500 feet. let it stay for 10 minutes, put it back up, and we marry it with, put it close to, and then marries with a onboard solar panel data collection box that transmits the information to California via satellite, etc. In this research paper, they have found that consistently, we started the program in mid-June with so far about 50 droppings. And our water temperature at 300 feet has been recorded consistently between 86 and 93 degrees. It's very, very warm, very high. Perfect conditions for hurricanes to form. It is only last week, Wednesday, that they've seen cooler temperatures, which cooler temperatures meaning that they went down to like 67 degrees, but only in certain pockets. Fishermen who were part of the research program, when we were getting them in to participate in the program, they said, you know what? I've noticed that the water is hot because I've been getting exhausted faster. It was common for me to wear a wetsuit. Now I do not need to wear a wetsuit when I'm diving in 50, 60, 70 feet of water because the water is hot. They couldn't understand why. They thought it was just, that time of the year, not realizing that all of this ties in to climate change. This is an instance where the scientific research is of extreme value to our fishers. We started the program with 10 fishers. As the word spread, now we have about 25 fishers, almost 30 fishers, additional people who want to get on board with this program because they're experiencing the same thing and they want this knowledge. So I'm saying when you marry our historical and anecdotal information with scientific research, it benefits the whole. So let's not be too quick to dismiss that aspect of the fishery sector. Okay. I can't see, but I'm going to go and see if there are any comments. We'll take them. Or hands raised. I can't see any hands raised, so I'm just going to go on to the next slide. But if there are any comments, please. I can't see your hands raised, so please quietly let me know. And we will get you to come in and comment. Here we are now to this slide number 7. Who leads fisherfolk organizations? The person or persons who use their influence is normally the person or persons who use their influence to enlist the support of others to achieve a shared goal or objective.
That would have helped you.
Subheading 1, groups of poor leadership may have several differing leaders. And that normally happens but it's commonplace for all organizations, all groups to have factions. There's no better way to put it. You have factions and you have cliques. And this happens because you have people who are more friendly with others than they are with others. So that's normal. But conflicts may arise when the differing groups want to advance a particular leader that would support their singular purpose. That's not good for organizations. Organizations must and should give total support to the leader, whoever that leader is. Laundry of the organization doesn't need to be aired among factions because all that will do is cause dissension and weaken the structure. Number 2, good leadership focus on the entire group on shared goals. Absolutely correct. But 2, they must be tactful enough to be able to harness the energy, input, influence of those people who may be the most influential or people, or the ones who lead the factions and the cliques. That's not easy to do. Never easy to do. But you must be tactful enough to understand that this does exist and how do we manage it. There's no cookie cutter. There's no one size fit all for that type of tact or management. Okay? And you can look at some of the desired leaders, movers and shakers, those that excite others, people with a vision, get members to commit to group goals, yes. Work with and align people to the aims of the group. Be a caretaker of the group culture and values and goals. Yes, it's always good to be caretakers of the group culture. And this brings us back to the understanding the dynamics of the different parts of the organization, the different cliques, you know, the different groupings. Okay? How is leadership carried out? Go to autocratic. The leader who tells the group what to do, how to do it, without getting advice from other members. Participative or democratic. The leader who includes one or more members in deciding what to do and how to do it. Delegative. Someone who allows free rein. The leader who allows the members to make the decisions while providing overall guidance. All of these are traits that a leader should have. Because there are times when leaders have to make the decision and they have to be the decider. Because I'm sure many of us have been in situations where everyone is talking, everyone has a suggestion, but they don't want to commit to the suggestion that they make. Because it's inherent in us, in us as people, not to want to take risk, not to want to be wrong, not to fail. That's a common trait. That's a common trait. That's human. So leaders have to be all of these things, but it have to fit in the time and the space and the moment that you're dealing with. Someone have to make the decision. Someone have to put up the idea. Someone have to ask for opinions. Someone have to sort through the minutia to determine which contributions have value and which contributions are just talk. Okay? Excuse me one second. All right? So leaders have to be all of these things. Excuse me one second, folks. One second, please.
But Che, as you're gone, I just want to ask a question.
Oh, I'm back. All right, thank you, Winsbert. Let's go to the Zoom. Anybody else?
I just want to ask a question, not a long question.
Go ahead.
But the question I like to ask, is going through all this slide, there is a question that a lot of persons ask. Who is a bad leader and who is a good leader? Because it seems to me everybody have followers. And that is a very question sometimes you have to ask in Fisher Folks organization, because some persons are great leaders, but they might personality skill.
Hello? So, Winsberg, can you repeat that, please? There was some interference.
Yes, you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, repeat what you said, please. There was some interference.
Okay, then what I'm saying that the question that was asked, who is a good leader and who is a bad leader? And there is some leaders might not be a person who is good in front of a microphone, a person who might be good in front of a laptop, but they have certain skills in them that can transfer certain organization. And then you have bad leaders who do very bad things and people still with them, people still follow with them. And it's a good leaders that doing good thing and people not just following with them. So that's just my simple question I go like to ask: who is a bad and who is a good leader? And there are persons who with good leadership skills, but sometimes they just can't do certain things within an organization. Back to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you there. My thing was lagging for a minute. Yes, that Winsbert is a tricky question. Let me tell you why it's a tricky question. Oftentimes people ask, who is a good leader and who is a bad leader, right? In my view, I don't think anyone is a good leader or a bad leader. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. There is. Well, let's determine. Well, let me just tell you. It's difficult to say who is a good leader or a bad leader. And you made reference to that someone who may sit behind a laptop and may do that, which is fine. I've had the opportunity to meet a person who is in a wheelchair. They lead an active organization. And in my time of speaking with this person, I didn't know they were in a wheelchair. And they lead a fisherfolk organization. When I finally met them, I said, forgive me, but I didn't realize that you were not mobile like that. The person said, well, that's true. A lot of people may not. And we went through the whole conversation and talking and everything. So I asked myself the question, and it's important to ask, because that person is not someone who we would traditionally consider a fisher person. Does that mean that they are actually not a fisherman or fisher person? Does that mean they're incapable of leading a fisher organization? That was the question I asked myself, and the answer to me was no. A bad leader, in my view, is someone who does not respect the organization that they lead. Not everyone is cut out for leadership, and because without followers there are no leaders. So, in my view, a bad leader is someone who does not respect the organization that they lead.
We have a hand up to as well.
Yeah, I see that. Tylon, I can get them in the right. I see that. Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, okay. That's my view of a bad leader. Now, disrespect of an organization can come in many forms. Causing dissension among your members, meaning leaders who deliberately cause rifts intentionally because they want to, they operate on the old adage and the Aurelius Maximus rule of divide and conquer, right? Okay, that's bad leadership, right? So that's my take on that. Tylon, let's hear you, and then we'll move on to the next slide.
Yeah, yeah. Good night, everybody. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mr. LaRoda. I mean, when it was initially posing the question, I was thinking to myself, what might actually make a good fisherfolk leader or a bad one. And I mean, I was trying to box during my head, and I was thinking, to me, when I look at what I would consider a good leader is somebody that sets out and get the goals. It's not new. It's the information that we've been talking about for most of the night. Somebody that sets out to actually, somebody not just sets out, but who actually accomplishes the goals that the organization sets out in favor or in a manner that most of the membership is in agreement of. They would have executed the objectives of the organization in a way that the members are pleased or they're at least dissatisfied with. And like you rightfully said, you would not get 100% of everybody's views or opinions in your favor. That rarely ever happens. And a bad leader would be somebody that does the opposite of that. So I don't know. That's just my view on what a good or a bad leader is.
Point taken, and yes, it's valid. It's valid. Quite honestly, a leader is really not supposed. It'd be problematic if a leader will have everybody who would tend to agree with him or agree with them all the time. That's life doesn't work like that. Like I say, it's leg in hand. They all form one thing, and if one is missing, you're a handicap. But all are different, and everyone have their role. Everyone have their role. Everyone have their role. And what sometimes really affects organizations is when leaders use this one too much. When you use this one too much. Sorry, my grandmother used to tell me that. All right, let's move along. Leadership today. Leadership today must understand that they must be able to share power with the group, be collaborative, expresses the organization's values, pull together strengths and talents of the team, have a caring and positive attitudes towards people, and are open about their weaknesses and are willing to admit their mistakes. For most of the night, talking about leadership, we've been saying and highlighting the three. Autocratic, I just can't get that. Authoritarian, perceptive, and delegated. Okay, so this is where all of these things now come and form into one. All leaders must be open to criticism from within their ranks. Understand your weaknesses. We're not perfect. We're not perfect. But understand the weaknesses, but also too, understand your strengths and marry your strengths with your weaknesses. Some leaders have the tendency to always want to do the same thing and inflexible, doing the same thing. That's because they're capitalizing on their strengths. They don't want you to see their weaknesses. So they're capitalizing on their strengths. That's why they continue to do the same thing over and over, over and over. always doing the same thing, the same way, because that's their strength. There may be nothing wrong with that. Might be nothing wrong with that. But in situations like that, if you're a leader and you only want to basically demonstrate your strengths and capitalize on your strengths, then what you should do is bring into the fold those people who could shore up and support your weaknesses so you can rely on their strengths to support you. Strengthen your team. Everybody in the team, everybody in the organization has something to contribute. You know, I like to bring up this thing too. There are many people who are part of organizations who are not executives in those organizations, but they can make a hell of a contribution because not everybody wants to be in the forefront, but they're willing to give advice. They're willing to be involved. You know, when I was a boy, we always called them the comforter people, right? In the Bahamas, we use the conch, and we make like a little puff thing. It's called a fritter. I'm sure you have it too, but yours may be made of something else. You call it seafood fritter or whatever. But our thing is the conch fritter. So there are people in around that we always call the conch fritter people. That term used to be a derogatory term at one point. Until I will never forget, my pastor, he explained why he referred to some people as the conch fritter people. The conch fritter people are the people who are always showing up, always on time, always willing to work in the background. Always somebody in the back frying the conch fritters. Every organization needs those people, and leaders must be able to tap into the strengths of those people. Not everybody wants to be in front. Not everybody wants to do this. And I'm going to say right here, there's a gentleman who was on this meeting who was very good at that. He's an anchor. He is the you know, in the Marines, they call it the rescue diver. That's the person when you go in the water and you're failing and everything else, you don't see this person until you're actually in the water and you're almost drowning. Then they come out of nowhere like Aquaman and they push you up to the top, get you out of the water, get you to safety. That's what that person is. And that person is Mitch Lake, right there. So Uncle Mitch, when I called you the comforter person, that was not meant to be derogatory. All right? Okay? So leaders must understand that you need to rely on those people, bring them into the fold, rely on their expertise. I have found in my years of being involved with fisher folk, some of the best advice I've gotten was from people who can't read and write. Fisher people can't read and write. Oh, but they can count money. But they can count money now. They cannot read and write. In the beginning, it used to be annoying for me because I did not know that they couldn't read and write because they would ask me to always, man, read that to me. Tell me what it says. What do you think it says? What do you think it means? And then I realized over time that they were not book smart, but the knowledge they imparted, and it helped me as a leader and still helping me as a leader because then it caused me to accept what leadership is about. And I hope as leaders in other fisherfolk organizations, all of us can understand what leadership is about. When is leadership needed? Leadership is a continuum. Vision and communications, you must be inspiring, you must be motivating, you must be the stewards and the caretakers of the organization. You must be the monitor, must be adaptive and have adaptive management, advocate for the organization, and most of all, represent the organization. Leadership is always needed for the promotion of group success. One thing that's not here, I would not say is missing, it's just not here. Leadership is also always about mentoring. No use having all of your institutional knowledge here, and when you're no longer around, nobody else can benefit from it. So, ladies and gentlemen, fisherfolk, I thank you for listening to my presentation this evening. I hope, and I truly hope, that it was beneficial. I hope that somebody got something from it. I hope it wasn't too long. Those are all of my hopes, all of my wishes. And again, we all are leaders in our own way, and let's continue to lead. I see a hand raised from Ms. Paulette Coley. Ms. Paulette Coley from Jamaica, please. Let's hear you.
I would just wanted to add that leaders should always strive to be balanced and fair.
Yes. Yes, and I'll tell you this, and it's something I've learned, and not just dealing with fisherfolk, but it's something I've learned in my life. And I actually learned it from, I had a colleague, and younger than me, and he was charged with making some decisions. And I was curious as to how he would make a decision on a particular thing that I was curious. Because one of the people in the dispute was a relative of his. Everyone expected that the decision he would make would have been in favor of his relative. Surprisingly, the decision he made was in favor, well, no, not surprisingly. The decision he made was in favor of his relative, but surprisingly, it was a split decision that also benefited the person on the opposite side of his relative. Afterwards, I asked him, I said, you know, why did you do that? You know, because a decision in my mind should have been either or. He said, no. They both had valid points. They both put up a good case. So in fairness, I had to be fair to the two. My relative had a stronger case. But if I had seen to have ruled in favor of my relative, it would have looked as, people would not have seen it as biased. You know, people would have seen it as biased for my relative, despite the fact that my relative had a stronger case. So in order to be fair to the person on the other side, I had to reach a compromise. And Michelle Obama said it the other night, you know, in order for there to be fairness, those who have much is going to have to give up something, so those who have less can feel to be, that some equity could be seen. I don't support the Democratic Party now. I can let you all know now. I don't support the Democratic Party, but she made a good point. Anyway, folks, again, good night. Nadine, Madam Chair, I will turn this meeting back over to you. And now, for those who wish and who would like to put it on the record, that tributes for our departed brother, Mr. Jocelyn. I guess now would be the time, Nadine, once Nadine comes back, now would be the time when you can share some memories, because we would like to put this on the record because the meeting is still being recorded. Nadine, I'd like you to please continue to keep the recording on. Okay. Again, folks, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I hope I wasn't too long. I hope I wasn't boring. I hope as you were able to get something from this, the first module of our Leadership Training Institute. And please, by all means, I see some of the names. I would like or we would like to see more of your names and folks volunteering to be contributors to this Learning Institute. It is a good thing that Cnfo is doing, a fantastic thing that Cnfo is doing as we move from strength to strength. Again, thank you all. God bless. I love you, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adrian LaRoda, for that very detailed presentation tonight. Starting off the Leadership Institute trainings with a bang. We look forward to next week's session. So everyone, you're welcome back to join next week, Tuesday, as we have that session being facilitated by Mr. Winsbert Harry of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So now we're going to open the floor. If you want to share a few words and memory of our dearly beloved Mr. Jocelyn Lequai, who have departed the physical world last week. So please, by the raise of hand, we will take a few comments before we end this call. Many of you may not know Jocelyn Lequai because you're new to the Cnfo family, but Jocelyn is a founding member of the Cnfo. He started out, and he would tell me from the, I don't have it written, from the time the Cnfo started, that would have been, I would say, at least 15 years ago. This was a time when the CRFM and other partners conducted meetings and did research on what is needed in Caribbean fisheries. And he always reminded me that he visited Belize during that time when they had those meetings to have these assessment of the fishing industry. And I've been working in the industry for 19 years, and it was just before my time. So he has been around like forever. And then we had the coordinating committee established, and he was the first deputy chair of the Cnfo. And when we formally registered, he became the public relations officer up to, he served 2 terms, so up to very recent. And this year was when he just became a regular member of the Cnfo board. So from the start, right through until his death, he has been with us. And he's one of our first active board member, because he was still active on the board, as he did not leave that, give that space up to depart us. And so we spend this time to remember him. So just like for one of, or two of you, to give you the opportunity to speak, and then we're going to close the call.
Nadine, I must share something concerning Mr. Lequai. I think when I get in at a young age, as a young fisher and a fisher from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I met Mr. Lequai, and he was a good inspiration man who all time, because after going into these workshops and first time traveling from different countries to different countries, Mr. Lequai used to be the representative of Trinidad and Tobago, and he used to represent Cnfo at regional and international meetings, and he all time bring that back to the committee and to the board. And he was so cool in meeting, because nothing never really used to trouble Mr. Lequai. And me and he built a close relationship, even when I have problems in getting engine parts in Trinidad and Tobago. I used to reach out to Mr. Lequai, and I could have put my pot on fire because he used to make it his personal interest to go down to the Monkey and wherever in Trinidad. Sometimes he spend his own money and buy that parts for me, then ship it to St. Vincent till I could reimburse him. So he's a guy I will really totally miss because he did share his experience with me. He did get me to go get by to see how I can build myself as a Fisher Folks leader and then how to walk in my community, because I remember when we was in Trinidad and he took us up to Blanc Touche, and he was leading that task in his fishing community, Blanc Touche, and I still see that Canary is still doing work in Blanc Touche and to see how he can get that community up because it was so vulnerable. They didn't have a gas station, they didn't really had nothing at all. And Mr. Licoy really take the lead in to see how they could own piece of land that the cooperative did and the fishers did, because you see in fishers used to jog engine on the shoulder and they had to hire transportation from Blanc Touche to go all the way into the city just to get gas, and Mr. Licoy was really fighting for that. So I really Mr. Licoy. He was a mentor to me. He helped build my capacity and helped transform my life as a Fisher Folks leader. And that's what I always say. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share my goodness and the blessing that I share Mr. Licoy in all the meetings we had in the reforming of Cnfo, because he was that person who led the way as well to that we could have had an executive. And here we are today with the Cnfo Board of Directors. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary.
So we have Winston who wants to make a contribution. Winston?
Yes, good night, everyone. I just, not too much good in the mood of talking really right now, but I met Likwai in the second chain of the trainers workshop in Grenada. And from that day on, all the different meetings, we have built a relationship. We have been instrumental in getting this Cnfo up and running. We all played our part, but right now, actually, it's the third one now who had depart, because we had Honeygan first, and then we had Howie and the one from Dominica.
Huron.
Yeah, I'll play the part in building the Cnfo. So I sympathy extended to the whole Cnfo family and his family members. Yeah, that's much I'll say now for now.
Thank you, Winston. Anyone else? So I just want to say that Jocelyn's homegoing service was on Saturday past, and we had the opportunity to attend via Zoom, via YouTube, and also I just wanted to say that we also were represented as both Fisher Vote leaders and from Cnfo's active membership at the homegoing service by Junior Kwashi and Azad Mohammed. So I just wanted to add that as well, in addition to the fact that Justin has worked with me more than with anybody else within the Cnfo family. So I really was able to extend my sincere condolences to his wife, and appreciate the fact that we were able to share in the service.
Yes, leading. Can you hear me? Hello?
Earl, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
man.
I'm trying to remember the gentleman name, and I'm not sure if it was Mr. Jocelyn, but I remember I was asking because like new to Cnfo because I've been out of the fisheries for a while. But I remember years back, I think about 1998 or 99, when I was working with the Fisheries Improvement Program. I did some training here in Jamaica, Twickenham Park, with a gentleman I'm trying to find with Cnfo. Was he a part of Cnfo?
Not really, but we did work with the early CRFM because Cnfo preceded CRFM. So our work in Cnfo started maybe 2004 or so.
Okay. There was a gentleman I know I was familiar with then, but I can't remember his name, so I was wondering if it was him. I think that gentleman was really from Belize, though.
Ah, okay. Earl George also wanted to do something, Nadine. So, Earl George. Mr. Earl George, sir? Okay, he probably has desisted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. We're giving you the floor as well.
All right. Good night, everyone. My name is Earl George, representing Dominica. I met Mr. Jocelyn in Antigua for my very first time when I entered the Cnfo. I will always owe a huge debt of gratitude to Mr. Jocelyn for his significant contribution towards Cnfo organization. I must say that his death was a big loss, and indeed, it threw our Cnfo into a deep mourning. Mr. Jocelyn, he was a simple man. He was very friendly. He was approachable, and he was a highly dependable man. He mentored me. He gave me direction, and I'll forever remember him. As I talk with tears in my eyes, that man was a very good man. That's all I have to say.
Thank you,
That's
Earl.
all. Yeah, you're welcome.
If there's anyone else, Nadine will certainly give you the floor. If not, she will close as well. Nadine?
Yeah, so we could not have missed this opportunity since we were meeting online to honor Mr. Jocelyn Lequai. And so we thank you for participating and staying for the extended minutes, and taking us almost 45 minutes over what we total. So we're going to say thank you and God bless. See you all next week, same time, same place.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed